Thanks so much for watching my first vegetable garden. Today my brother and I want to talk about the #1 thing we recommend all gardeners do.
It's to start composting right away.
A lot of times we wait and our gardens get developed, we need organic matter, we need compost, and we start spending a lot of money in other places when we can just kind of grow it on our property, so to speak. We want to talk about 4 different ways that you can start a compost pile. This is the first one.
All you really need, this is off of Amazon, just something with open sides for the air to get in will work really well.
It was for a dog kennel, so it's metal, it's been there for 4 years. 4 by 4 foot space, 4 feet high, and I've just been piling in all the old tomato plants, pepper plants, weeds, old container mix, and I just throw it in there. It's a cold composting process, which means soil life, microbes, fungus, molds, worms will break this down slowly over the years. It's been there 4 years, and I am now harvesting out great soil and great compost because I put in a lot of clay and different things into there. It's a bin you just throw in everything. Let me show you what it looks like. This is one of my cold composting bins, and again, 4 years of just piling in different materials. Every once in a while I'd throw in some leaves, some grass, soil, container mix, all kinds of organic matter, and you just end up with this beautiful layer of compost. Sometimes there's a little bit more clay when I was throwing ground trimmings into there. Other times it's just this really nice rich compost material and a tag from an old plant, but it's just beautiful. So this is what I'm using right now to top off most of my garden beds for the fall. The first pen I showed you is cold composting. Just throw the stuff in there, let it be, it's going to break down. This is my hot composting station.
So it's a basic construction out of pallets, about a 4 by 4 area. It does have a roof. One of the things that we talked about is drilling holes in here to let some more water in.
Yeah, I was telling my brother that this was a mistake. You have to have moisture in all your compost piles. So if you're going to put a roof on it, that's great to block some of the sun coming down. If you can put these in a shady area, it's best. You can put a roof on here to block some of the sun so the pile doesn't dry out, but this really needs some larger holes in here because if the pile runs out of moisture, the bacteria stops doing its thing. So in hot composting, this is cooled off now. That's not hot composting anymore, but it's really a matter of mixing like a layer of leaves, maybe that much, then this much greens. Greens is nitrogen, like grass or alfalfa pellets, or it's even coffee grounds or something. By mixing the browns, the carbons, and the nitrogens, you start this process where it heats up, and it's going to get up to like 140, 160 degrees. The last bed we show you on the other side has a thermometer in there. That's at 155 degrees right now. So when this is cooking at 120, 140 degrees, it's staying hot for 7 days. The pile collapses. You come in, you turn it, you get some air mixed into there, you throw in some more grass, more nitrogen. It stays hot for another week or so. And you're really putting a lot of effort into here. Hot composting gets done much more quickly, but what you lose in here, because it's hot, worms don't want to hang out in here. So you're not getting worm castings or anything in there. I like using a hybrid process that we'll talk about more when we get to the end of this video, but I just wanted to let you know what hot composting is about. It's about speeding up the process and using heat, a bacteria that really generates heat when it multiplies and eats everything in there. Pile heats up, you get compost much more quickly.
So this whole process doesn't have to be complicated. You can start out by just putting in a pile of organic matter, covering it with a cheap and expensive tarp.
Now the tarp is not going to let rainwater in, but if you're just getting started, like when I have the bins over there, I want water to be able to drip into there and keep the soil life going. You can just spray this down, soak it, put the tarp over it, and about once a week, lift up the tarp, and you're going to want to get in there so that you can kind of knock back any of the weeds. And you also don't want moles and voles and mice living in there. So by removing the tarp, you kind of disturb whatever might be living in there, and then soak it down again, put the tarp over there. And this is going to break down really nicely. I mean, look at this stuff. This is probably on its 2nd year. It's all going to go into the garden too this fall and in the spring. But it's beautiful stuff, and it's just piling in organic matter, checking on it every week, keeping it tarped, keeping it moist, and you end up with beautiful compost. Here are a couple more examples of the pallet composting bins, and I've created a way to just slide boards in here and they just drop down. So as I'm putting in the organic matter, the leaves primarily, I just put on another board. All of this is going to collapse by a good 75% over time. Just keep putting in the organic matter, but this is just a nice way to create sides so all your stuff isn't falling out into the onto the lawn or to whatever space you don't want it to be in. Here's another way to build a compost pen. We'll talk about that in a second, but anything works, and we just want to encourage you to get that organic matter into some sort of bin and let the process get started.
And here's a really easy way to make leaf mold. All you have to do is put leaves into the smaller 2 trash cans in October, and you leave it sitting here for a year. After a year, you dump out the small trash cans into something a little bit bigger. You fill these cans back up, and year after year, you keep going with the same process. This is what you end up with eventually, and it's a really nice matter to top off your gardens in the fall time, springtime, whatever you're going to need.
I just built this compost bin. It's exactly what we've been saying. It's 4 feet by 4 feet. The sides are tall enough that we can get a 4-foot pile. This is predominantly leaves, but right in the core, I put in 2 bags of green grass. You want to use the green grass because that has a lot of nitrogen. That's what starts heating up. This is a compost thermometer, and you can see that the core is really at almost 160 degrees. That starts the hot composting process. I like the hybrid approach. I don't want to spend a lot of time keeping this, percolating at 160 degrees, turning it, adding more matter. I just don't need compost in 90 days or 120 days. I'm fine with waiting 6 months or a year. But by putting in that green core, it speeds up the decomposition process, and I'm going to get compost a little more quickly. I like the cold process because it allows the worms to come in, eat the organic matter. They excrete worm castings, and worm castings are just full of wonderful things for your garden, and that's what I really want. Hot composting excludes the worms, basically. We showed you a couple of ways to compost. You can start bins, you can do hot composting, cold composting, combination of both. You can throw a tarp over a pile, you can make something more elaborate out of pallets.
The bottom line is really just to get started. Get started with a simple metal bin, throw in all of your organic matter, and in a couple of years you'll have something like this. It's going to be great in your garden. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Throw in all of your organic matter, and in a couple of years you'll have something like this. It's going to be great in your garden. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I think it was pretty good.
All right, that's fine. You're just like, thanks for watching. Have a great day. A little angry, but all right. So
should I do the lean a little bit like this? Like comfortable?
Yeah. If you look cheesy, you're gonna look cheesy though.
Yeah. Is out of the way, and you can use to get. What?
Look right at the camera, raise this arm, and say, "All you really need."
All you really need is a 4-foot space to get started. 4x4.
And just say, this doesn't have to be complicated. You can just start a pile any size, put a tarp over it, keep it moist, and that's all you'll say. And then I'll talk a little more detail about it.
Okay.
You need to be facing the camera. I'll lift it up and all that.
Okay. So this whole process does not have to be complicated. You can start out by just putting a pile.
Just starting a pile of organic matter. You're going to say the bottom line is to get started, right?
Correct.
Okay.
That's what we just talked about.
Yeah. I just don't want to repeat it when I'm saying.
The bottom line is.
Yeah, that's good. All right.